analog and digital. Oh, that's not so good. Maybe CD, like a kind of like seed tree thing, and there's like analog and CD. And none of it was really working. Oh, digital redo, something like a log and digital. I was obviously floundering. I thought maybe the digital character would just speak in O's and ones. I thought that might be cool. That might be a usable idea. Anyway, I was just brainstorming and started sketching out some packaging designs. The 12 Crass Songs album had a very long fold-out comic book horizontally, and had a couple of panels in each part of the fold, and the CD sort of sat within the story. And so I started working on that, something along those lines, a big fold out, and then I thought, well, what if I do this vertically? And then it's sort of like I'm not exactly doing the exact same design as 12 Crass Songs, because it's like, oh no, but it's different, it's like that. I'm not out of ideas. And then I started thinking, well, okay, vertical, what does that say? Tree, I could do a tall tree, I could do like a mountain. So then finally, I settled on, I would do a story where on one side, these characters would climb up a mountain, and then the other side, you'd flip it over and you'd see them climb down and find this grove of trees, and sort of thinking about this analog versus digital, one side of the mountain versus the other side, climbing up versus climbing down. I could have one side be the sun and one side be the moon. You know, opposites, brainstorm, Jeff, opposites, come up with something. So lots more bad ideas later, crossing out this, crossing out that. I finally started getting it knocked into shape and sketching out a bit more specifically who these two characters in search of the magical forest grove of vinyl and CD trees, of analog and digital trees. Who would these characters be? Well, if you look closely, you can clearly see, quite clearly, that it's a lion and a clam that have saws in their hands, and they're about to saw down these trees and see what albums are inside. So that's what that little sketch turned into. And this lion and clam character, I'm not entirely sure how they got involved in this CD packaging, but I've kind of used these characters a bunch over the years in a lot of my comic books that I do, especially in the early, about 10 years ago, when I was starting to play shows in New York City around 98, 99, 2000, I was making these little comic book flyers for my concerts where I would hand somebody this little mini comic book, and it was like, you know, it would have a whole little 4-page story, and then at the end it would say, Jeffrey Lewis is performing at Sidewalk Cafe Tuesday night at 9 or something like that. And in a lot of these little comics, some of the reoccurring characters were this lion and clam. There's an early story with the clam. The clam plays sitar and is always telling rhyming stories, and he's sort of a grumpy, underappreciated street musician, sort of folk guy. And he's sort of the foil to the lion character, who pop star lion appearing in a flyer that I did for, there it is, in 2000. I was playing a show with Schwervon, Adam Green, pre-war yard sale, at CBGB's Gallery, which was like, you know, this little space if you weren't quite good enough to play CBGB's, there was like a space next door where like maybe you could sort of start out there, work your way up. And the Den, which was a place underneath a pizza store, no longer there. Well, CBGB's no longer there either. Anyway, there's the lion in his first appearance. And the lion, being this pop star, is kind of always playing these like stadium shows, whereas the clam is stuck outside playing in the parking lot, and is sort of grumpy about their relative positions in the music scene. Even though the lion is actually quite personable and friendly. And they make an appearance, in fact, on my very first album cover, which came out in 2001, and is a collage of a bunch of my old show flyers. For the astute Jeffrey Lewis fan, you've of course already noticed that the lion and clam are an intrinsic part of my first album design. There's a couple of lions, there's the clam getting peeled apart from an old story, and they're on the back cover as well. So, okay, we got the sun side, the moon side, and the mountain in the daytime, mountain at night. I started constructing what the physical package might look like, because I couldn't quite write and draw the story until I knew exactly how long it would be. How could I make this, how many folds would it have, where would the panels sit on the folds, where would the back cover sit, where would the spine sit. So once I had this concept, the characters, the vague storyline, I couldn't really go forward until I figured out the physical size and shape of it all. So with these little miniature things, which I started making and folding up, to make sure they folded up correctly, I tried out a bunch of different designs. Some of them were longer than others, some of them folded up more effectively than others, and eventually I settled on, I don't even know, what is this, 10 panels, something like that. I settled on a design that could hopefully work as just one sheet of paper. It wouldn't need anything else. The CD would just sit on a little stud inside, and there would be no need to slip it into an outer sleeve. There would be no inner booklet. It would just be one thing that folded up, told a story, had the front cover and the back cover. And with that design in mind, I proceeded to draw the comic story, which I have on these sheets of paper here. So I sort of had a bunch of little sketched on, folded up things that I kept playing with at different sizes and different folds, and started doing the art at this size and doing all the panels as simple squares so that it would be easier to play around with the panel design and layout after the fact. And I did actually take out a couple panels, add a couple other ones. The fact that they were all square made it very easy to change them around afterwards. So there's that, including the mountain, which they're going down. There's me working on it. And, of course, this would all look so much better if the lights were off. You would see the incredible detail that went into all of it.